How are you guys doing?
So good.
Good.
How are you?
I'm doing great. So I've watched the first episode. I've been introduced to your characters, and usually I got to say when I'm doing press junkets like this and they've paired people together, it might mean that you guys share some more screen time together. Is it safe to say that you guys are there's probably a connection there that we'll probably learn about down the road in future episodes?
No, I
For
have
Okay.
no
sure.
idea who this woman is.
Wait, what's your name? Oh.
Well, the reason why I ask is because I know today is going to be a day where people are going to be asking you a lot about who your character is and what they bring to the show. But I thought we could maybe try something a little different. I tried it with Stony, Galilea, and Elijah, and it worked really well. I'd love to know if you had to describe each other's characters and what they bring to this show, how would you do it? So, Francesca, who is Jen?
Jen is a hard knock city cop. She is strength and she works very hard to maintain that image. But sometimes when it comes to her daughter Alex, she doesn't know what to do. And so together they have to go through a lot of emotional struggles and
Mm,
monster struggles to
right.
reach a satisfying conclusion.
I
That's my
like
pitch.
that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I see you. Okay. I feel like I'm getting to understand a little bit more now. As Francesca said, Jen is a cop. If Alex is your daughter, how do you perceive her, Anna? Like, how do you perceive this character of Alex in
I
this story?
think Alex is a New York City kid.
Mm.
She's definitely got that. She's tough. She is she's a leader,
Oh.
Hmm.
but she doesn't know it.
Mm.
She
True.
just has that sort of people want to people are drawn to her. Um, she bites off a lot more than she can chew,
Ooh.
but she always manages to come out a winner in the end. She is a gigantic heart. She doesn't want people to know how incredibly vulnerable she is, and she just loves very deeply, but she has such a strong facade that you won't really know it. She's a New York kid,
Right.
like the to the most. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys definitely know each other, your characters really, really well. I'm actually really happy that this question panned out because the same results were
Yeah,
in the group. It's an interesting approach to kind of understand the character that's you're acting off of and opposite of. So I think you guys really like that's sort of what I've loved about like from the first one that's I've gotten from this first episode as well too, is this sort of grounded real nature of these characters. And I
that's
think
right.
that, it really comes from a very authentic place. Now, we are talking about Goosebumps. We're talking about a series that deals with fears and phobias. Might be a little personal, but I'm going to ask, what is a fear or one fear that you've had to confront, and how did you overcome it? I'll leave it to you two ladies to decide who wants to go first.
I've had, gosh, well, I, so it's so basic and it's so sort of something that I think so many people go through, but like a I definitely have a fear of heights.
Mm.
It's something, but again, like that's so sort of like, oh, well, normal.
Yep.
But it's I grew up in New York, so everything is like a skyscraper.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was a tough thing to sort of overcome. I don't know how I conquered it. Maybe just sort of like, keep on keeping on, and realize, and maybe sort of the mantra of like, you're okay, you're okay.
For
But
sure.
I think, yeah, I think that's kind. I have a fear of roaches. Again, I think that's a New York thing.
Valid fear.
Yeah, like 100% terrified. And then like my anxiety dreams are always zombies. So yeah,
Wow,
like
we
if
got
I'm in a really
we went through layers there. I love it. I love the different layers of fears that we have because I can relate to the heights. I'm like 6'3", 6'4", but like I'm scared of heights, and like I'm from Toronto, so we got the CN Tower. So like they have that thing where you stand on glass, and I'm like,
no,
nuh-uh.
no,
Or
I could never do
or
it.
they have people that like harness themselves to the outside and like
No,
hang off of this thing. I'm like,
no,
no,
nope.
thank you. I will
No,
not be doing that.
not on any planet. All right, what are
How,
your
how about
fears?
you for Francesca?
Okay, well, I would say to be very like human, it would be like I just get panic attacks a lot. I used
Mm,
to get a ton of panic attacks, and that was so hard for me.
That's
right.
awful.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
awful. They just make you feel like you're dying. But other than that, I would say possessions.
Yeah.
Possessions.
Yeah.
Just the thought of something being inside of your body that you don't want there. and you
Yes.
cannot move, right? Like
Mm.
that's loss of control to a degree that I don't play with.
Sure.
See,
I feel like this show would probably have driven those fears up a little bit more too,
yeah.
to a certain
Maybe.
degree, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I've had my fair share of panic attacks as well. So I can relate to that and the anxiety that comes around. And it's all situational too, right? So
Yes.
Yeah.
but in it is funny, at least for myself, I can speak to in some instances when I've had those issues, you always kind of fear what you don't know, right? But then when you
Yes.
get on the other end of it, it kind of melds a little bit. Either you never will do it again, or you're just like, that wasn't as bad as I thought. So a lot of
Yeah.
that I feel like for me at least is just it's built up in here, and it's the imagination, if you will.
That's right.
Okay, so for my last question, I know we were talking about your characters before. I'd love to know though, for you guys, for each of you, how do you relate to these characters? Because there is such a grounded nature to the approach of bringing these characters to life, even though there's supernatural stuff. How do you relate? And we'll start with you.
I am a parent, so I can relate in that sense. I'm a parent of a daughter, and my
Okay.
daughter's almost, my daughter's 15, so that was
Wow.
very relatable for me. I'm a New Yorker, and so is my character.
Yeah.
And I think, there's an independence to Jen, a sort of a I don't need any help. I got this. I can do this on my own. Thing that Jen has that I can relate to very much as well, for better or worse.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. How about for you, Francesca?
I would say goofiness for sure. I brought a
Mhm.
lot of goofiness to Alex that maybe wasn't originally there. Um, but there's a lot of strength in her that like physically and mentally that I think I discovered that we have in common, going
Right.
through like the car and going through the haunting and just like all the monsters and stuff. That takes a lot of willpower and it takes a lot of body strength that I did not think I could possess, but
Right.
Alex had it, and so I believe that I could too, and then I did, which was amazing.
Yeah. Well, again, it feels like these characters come from a very real place. And that's the one thing I appreciated, especially again, as I was mentioning, it's such a supernatural show, but there are real elements to it. In maybe on the reverse, just as I kind of get to the end here, is there something from your characters that like you found like really interesting in terms of like that's not necessarily me, but I want to act that? Like there's a portion of that outside of the relatability, because it just kind of came up in my last conversation with the group, and uh Stoney was talking about Trey saying that he couldn't necessarily relate to all things, but there are some aspects, right?
That's
Is there
true.
anything that you found for yourself?
I don't know.
I think, yeah, I hadn't thought about it until you mentioned it, but I think, yeah, I think sort of there was um a, a need to like push push Alex's character away for some reason for Jen, that like maybe I didn't I didn't understand where that was coming from, or
Mm,
like what that was about. And of course I sort of, made a history for that in my own head about it. But like, yeah, like where was the disconnect for Jen
mhm.
towards towards Alex? So that was something that I didn't walk into it knowing, but like had to sort of find and play,
Right.
because with my daughter, I'm just constantly like on her and
Right.
like,
It's
you
a different
know,
parenting approach, right?
it
Like
is,
I
it's
totally can
totally
understand. Yeah.
differently. And like for some reason, Jen was a lot more hands off with Alex, which
Yeah.
is not my thing. It's not
Right.
my, I'm not that parent.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I guess I'd say to compliment that yeah, Alex was a little bit rough in how she dealt with her mom. I just wouldn't, I don't know. They did not have the highest like degree of emotional intelligence or stability between them, but that's fine.
Right. Right. And
We
it's
all,
much different, obviously.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that. I love that there's just something there that you can kind of pull at that feels very different from who you are. So getting all sides. Both of you are fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time to answer
Thank you.
some of my questions. I hope you had a good time. I had a
Yeah.
great time. And I look forward to watching more of this show and seeing how your characters evolve through the series.